Nice.
Oh, this is so exciting. I'm moving to the
Right?
target.
And we are making a knot
Excellent.
very comfortably.
Yeah, the wind's really dropped out, huh?
So I expect you'll start to move a bit faster than you are.
I can pull some of the blue out of this shot. I don't know if
Yeah, if you want to.
care
We're
about
heaving a little
any
bit, but
bit more like that, maybe.
Take go into the eye doctor. 1 or 2?
A or B?
Better or worse?
If I try and do it down here, it'll throw a green.
3
so
or
I'll need to
4?
stay
ooh,
away
yes,
from
give
that.
us a vintage.
Yeah,
Vignette.
sepia.
Is that how you say it? Vignette?
Vignette.
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 The silent G.
One time, Adam Sewell, geologist, was on board, and we got all this rocks and stuff, and he was cutting them, and I was like, oh, it looks like a gate. And he looked at me like I had just
Oh, wow.
stabbed him with
You
a
mean
pencil.
like agate?
Yeah.
And you said a gate.
Uh-huh.
That's
Never
rough.
say a gate to a geologist.
Well, he also may have had that reaction because agate is not actually a geological
Right.
term.
all
It's
right,
just
so it
a
was a double
term
whammy
for
to his soul.
colored
Oh,
quartz.
no.
That's like when someone tells you you're an astronomer and you go, oh, no kidding, I'm a Leo.
Yeah.
or it's like when you say you're an archaeologist and they've asked you how many
them.
dinosaurs you found.
There you go.
Yeah.
Just don't ever take it for
They
granted.
do exist.
Ah.
Yeah, we're trucking. Be there in an hour.
Cool.
Sweet.
Under an hour.
So on channel 1, for those of you who are asking, you are seeing the side scan sonar. So you can kind of see the lines wiggle a little bit, and that has to do with the fact that Argus is moving up and down. So the returns that we're going to get are going to kind of change with that. Argus doesn't have an ROV above it, as Hercules uses Argus to take the heave of the ship. So as you look at the side scan sonar as well as the video feed, you'll see that the bottom kind of comes up, and then we're moving away from it, and then go back down, and that is the heave of the ship that we're experiencing as we go up and down with the waves. The search area we're looking at right now is about 2 square miles, and we're off about 12 miles off of Tapu Tapu Point at American Samoa. We don't have any exact area for the debris. That's simply because the ship hasn't, the plane hasn't been seen since 1938. So as whatever debris from the plane did submerge and go down, 3,000 plus meters is a long way to possibly move around and find a place to settle. And this is the first time hopefully the plane will be seen soon. So we don't have any exact locations.
Summer, was that the altimeter I saw right next to the mezzo?
Yes.
Got it.
It is functioning as it should.
Are you still having to pay out?
Yep.
Wow, we are just
Affirmative.
like really laid back. Already 250 meters laid back. It's kind of the danger of being this low, is that with this much layback, hauling in like even quickly
Takes
only
up.
has so much verticality versus
Right.
it seems to be still decent though. Like if you had to really go in quick, that
Yeah.
it does go up a bit, but basically we wouldn't want to be doing this if we had a super cliffy terrain. Yeah.
So on Sat 3, are we still seeing the depth, or is that just a different view of our side scan?
Sat 3 right now is showing us PC2, which is fed with our sonar screen. So that's a sonar mounted on Argus looking ahead, helping us with terrain avoidance.
Okay. Thank you.
Where's that soundbite? I was gonna download it and I didn't. Mike has it.
My actual answer was, I don't know, but I figured if I spoke slowly enough, I would have time to figure it out.
You could just have someone in the back.
Go ahead, Bridge. Everything's okay. Let me just double check with the ROV team. I'll call you back, right back. Everything's happy with the wire tension. We're good with the side scans. Yeah. Bridge nav, yeah, all is well. Everything's good here. How is it okay on the ship? Okay, thanks. So it's only this that we're laid back so much at this speed. We're already at 330 meters laid back. So winching up is, if terrain gets difficult, we'll, at this altitude, we'll have to, yeah. It seems like we have about 20 meters of view.
Yeah.
And,
10, yeah. Yeah.
If it helps, Mike, we don't need the that little sub bottom bit. You can full screen your side scan if you want.
Oh, okay, sound good. Yep.
Yeah.
I was keeping it open so we can pull the target window.
Oh
up,
yeah,
but
yeah.
that should be fine. Thanks.
Yep.
Who's opening something crinkly?
That's me. You know that customs form that had 8 different countries in the last month listed on it? I think this Cliff Bar was in all those countries.
Smuggling Cliff Bars through customs?
I'd declare them.
They're well traveled.
World weary.
It's almost as thin as an index card. It's been smushed so much.
On the way here, I think I was an international chocolate smuggler, and nobody caught it.
I think they're more concerned with fruit, produce,
Sorry.
and
You're good.
livestock, meat. I think coffee's legit. Yeah.
It looks like Argus is kiting a bit to the north, only about 20 or so meters, 25 meters. Yeah, well then it offsets the scanning. We could, I could move the ship over if it's an issue, but I think 20 meters we'll just have to live with. Do we know why we get those intermittent -999s on the altitude?
Oh, hello.
Are you talking to the biology again?
Yes.
Okay.
There's a holothurian.
Oh. Oh, hello.
So, Mike, I'm guessing it must be encouraging to see see these rocks here, because obviously there's nowhere where they could be coming from, and so that would kind of hint that the sedimentation rate here is so low that things are not completely buried on the bottom, right?
Yeah, I mean, the sedimentation rate down here would be pretty low. You might get slumping, because Samoa is so sloped. Sediment could slump downhill, and that's where all these rocks came from. You know, they're dislodged over time from the island. But yeah, I wouldn't expect that we're dealing with any sort of high rate of sedimentation that would bury something from 1938. That would be pretty heavy sedimentation.
Right. Dan, you've worked in Saanich Inlet before, yeah?
Yeah, Roger, have.
Yeah, you could cover an entire school bus in sediment there in about a day.
Yeah, and it would disappear.
Where is this?
Same with Mississippi Canyon, Gulf of Mexico.
Saanich Inlet.
British Columbia.
Yeah, did we do any inshore work when you were on ONC?
Me?
No,
Oh.
Summer.
Inshore work negative. Not
Yeah,
what I was
that one we must not have been doing any. They have an observatory inshore as well. We were just doing the deep water stuff, but that's fun to work with the visibility and tides and all that current. The orange, like oil, you know, the oily cables, the termination cans at the end. They're like, you can't even see them right in front of your face. You'll do a whole watch where you're just hovering above, waiting for the tides to change.
That's
You know
sketchy.
that you're holding craft and you're sitting on the bottom right in front of the node and you can't see the orange anymore. And then suddenly the tide's clear and it's like visibility, you'll get it and you just plug it right in. But you've been right there the whole time.
Wow. That's intense.
Can't see the end of the manipulator.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That's unfun sounding.
The sonar will tell you
really-
you're in front of a primary node, but you can't see it.
Good
Yeah.
sonar makes a difference.
It's really nice to have this thing called a camera on the end of your manipulator. So you don't have to look through all
Yep.
that sediment.
Yep.
You can
We
see
should,
it clear as day.
someone should invent that. Was that you, me, and Gabby that kept doing that? Anytime that would come up, we'd be like, yeah,
Yeah.
we should really,
We should print that.
somebody should invent that.
Well, nowadays we should just print that.
Yeah, it's true.
I haven't seen one on a craft yet. Could put one on up there on one of its.
I think the real market is finding a way to adapt the craft master to a shilling arm.
That is a popular choice
Yeah.
sounding.
Why would you do that?
It seems like craft has a great master.
A lot of people are a fan of the Craftmaster versus the Shilling. I guess it's just what you get
Really?
used to too, yeah. I mean, I've heard that also, but you just get used to one of them. And
Schilling built a master like that well over a decade before Craft did.
Did you ever see the craft gravity masters?
Yeah?
Yeah.
Yeah, those were great.
Especially in seas.
how big are they?
They're like this big, maybe.
Yeah, they're massive.
Huh.
Yeah. Not helpful for our audience at home.
They're the size of a human arm, so
Yeah.
you're basically, you hold your arm and there's a big counterweight back here, so it's this big kinematic replica of the arm, but you can hold it with two or three fingers and move the,
Oh, because of the counterweight?
yeah, and it's like perfectly balanced. It has a pistol grip, so I find them very comfortable to use. They're real intuitive to move way better than these mini masters, newfangled mini master things.
Do we have a target?
Yeah,
Target
so this
08?
is mostly practice, but we are going to save it as a target. So this will be 1056-8.
1056-8, okay.
And it's about 50 meters to starboard.
So I actually tried to, there is some cool features with the button controls on the end of the Craftmaster.
Yep.
And I was using a little pistol grip keyhole saw and had one hacked up and was mocking up one, and
Okay, I'm good.
I was caught and instructed to get it out of the building.
Yep, and then just
now.
put it back here. Back here. Perfect.
And then Data, do you need my screen?
No, we're good.
Oh, okay, you guys do a different,
We're good. Thank
Yeah.
you.
different line. Okay.
Because I think we're getting location from the USBL as well. So
Okay, yeah, I
they
wasn't
should
sure
be
about
similar.
that. Yeah. By the way, you may want to make a note that we're kiting to the north of the line,
Yeah,
about
I see that,
30
yeah.
meters.
Yeah.
Let me know if you want to try to address that with the ship. I think probably we could just let it go for now. And
Yeah, I mean, I think it is what it is.
yeah, I would presume it might be current related, so maybe every time we're driving these lines, it'll still be bumped up a bit.
Yeah, probably.
So
Um,
I don't know what your tolerance is for that. Seems like we are getting a little bit over 100 in the.
yeah, and I mean, if it's consistent across all the lines, then we're going to have the coverage. Be
Yeah.
what the coverage is. It'll kind of work itself out.
Yeah, yeah.
DCC. Distance, cross course.
How about how close are we to that center point on this?
The ship has 20 minutes to go. Argus has more time than that. Probably 40 minutes. Actually.
Your, what is that you have there? WinPro?
Which one?
The software in front of you.
High pack.
High back.
Yeah.
It has an offline indicator at the bottom there.
Yeah, that's for the ship. Because they're driving based on that actually. So they know. So when we do multi-beam lines, shipboard multi-beam, when
Right.
they're steaming along, they can kind of tell as they're
How far
honing it.
off,
Yeah, it's super useful. That's kind of what the line plans are built for, is surveying multi-beam.
Yeah, usually we have the same for the dangly bits. So they drive the ship to keep the offline minimized. You can't change the input on what its offline is.
I may be able to. It would jump around with the USBL.
Oh yeah. No filter action.
I think you'd have to change what the primary vessel is or something like that.
Yeah,
Let me see. I want to see how possible that is. I think it's probably something that I would need to do
Set up before the dive.
set up in the actual program. This is just a window of it. Yeah, I have a feeling that's in the hardware setup.
Does it allow you to run 2 instances of the same
Of the line?
program with all the same inputs, or does it make it really angry?
I don't know. I have not had success in the past of running a second instance of the survey window. So this is the main program over here. And then we just run a separate survey window from it.
Oh, right.
But I don't think 2 instances of it would, given my history with it, I don't think it would play well. That's my inclination.
Roger.
It's pretty flat.
What is it again?
High pack.
High pack.
Yeah.
It's pretty flat bottom at this point.
Yeah.
I don't want to pay out much.
Yeah, you're kind of strafing. You're quartering the slope. So.
Yeah.
And even that, these are 5 meter contours, and so everyone seems to be going up about every 60 meters. So you shouldn't have too much. This one might be a little fun feature to deal with in the future on the next line. But I didn't really take a look of the raw data, so it could be a mapping artifact, but I would doubt it. They do a pretty good job.
Ryan, are we getting any questions?
How far does that stick up? 60 meters?
Yeah.
Ish.
5, 10, 15, 20.
Are you in
Yeah,
charge
50
of
meters,
music?
yeah. Something like that.
Not if you want to be.
Right now we are continuing our path across our search area. We're actually going diagonally across this time towards the center of our search area, which you'll see in about just under 40 minutes or so. And then
I'm going to amend that and say it's probably closer to 50 or maybe an hour.
Okay. After we go diagonally across, which will take a good bit of time, are we going to start kind of go lawnmowing back and forth across? So working our way down from the top?
So right now we're going in through the center of the survey area. And we'll make the call after we go through that if we're going to proceed north, but essentially we're doing 200 meter line spacing, and each of the lines are 2 nautical miles long. And we have 2 nautical miles of them. So it's roughly a 2 by 2 mile box.
Full wide.
Okay.
So for those of you joining us on this dive, it might look a little bit different to you than what you typically would expect to see, because we are currently only diving with Argus. As we search for the Simone Clipper, there's a lot of groundwork that needs to be done as we begin our search. So right now we are searching about 2 square miles and using Argus as a tow fish. Argus is mounted with a Edgetech 4200 side scan sonar. So we are side scan mapping this area. You can see that in your channel, and as well as the actual camera from Argus, which is currently pointed downward. So you're seeing pretty much directly underneath Argus, and we're traveling about 1 knot or so, about Somewhere about 10 meters above the seafloor?
About 15 now, just being a little more conservative. We got a lot of terrain,
Okay.
rocks and stuff.
So we're about 15 meters above the seafloor. And from there, we're going to identify some dive targets. As you watch the sonar screens, you might hear our science team start to mention and create some dive targets. And you'll see them kind of zero in on some areas. So as we document those, we will come back later with Hercules to dive on those and hopefully find the wreckage.
And anybody tuning in, feel free to ask us some questions. We have an aviation archaeologist, an architect, historian, researcher, and Peyton, our human encyclopedia on board, so on this watch. So
Biology enthusiast.
biology enthusiast. So ask us any questions, and we're here to answer.
We have a question about retrieving any potential debris from the Simone Clipper if and when it's found coming in.
I think that Russ said it best when somebody asked him about what other projects he'd also like to work on. I think that we primarily right now are focusing on actually finding the wreckage, characterizing the wreckage. Any recovery that we think about will have to be fully informed by the site itself, so we're not really planning on that right now.
Nice. And any of those samples, I know you'd mentioned that one of the things you look at is degradation of the site, correct?
Correct, yeah. One of the most interesting things that we can look at on a deep water site like this is how it's deteriorating, and especially in aircraft, because they are deteriorating differently no matter where we find them. And so it's really interesting to look at just how it's deteriorating, how it's interacting with the environment, and what's growing on it, what's not growing on it, what remains, and what we can see from the site formation as to the crash event.
So all this side scan data, that'll all get made into one big giant map.
I think Mike will be post-processing it and overlaying it all. Yeah, I think that's the intent.
And that'll be overlaid on a bathymetry map, or it'll be...
It could be overlaid, yeah, in XY, just on a plane, but I think likely our main tool is dropping the targets based on distance off from.
All right.
And maybe doing some, when we do video scans with Hercules, getting some higher precision debris field targets.
Gonna do the mow the lawn with Hercules next to get the big, like you did on the U2 boat?
Well, we don't have the high res specialists like from the Roman lab to do a map of it, but I think we'll do, probably they'll be doing some just photogrammetry based on the HD cam.
Right.
That's
oh,
right.
You had Roman's stereo cameras on for the...
Yeah.
Yeah, to make the model.
Right.
3D model.
But they can be, it can be pretty decent with just stereo photogrammetry, structure for motion, stills from the video.
I'm playing around with my IP cameras and using that little HD camera, same one they're using on the Blue Robotics vehicles. We'll stick 2 of them together and have a super poor man's Roman camera.
Yeah.
All the software is open source.
Yeah.
I'll bring the hardware out and hand it to Gabby and say, here you go. Make me a model.
Gabby.
That was her thing, wasn't it?
Yeah. Yeah.
So if and when the wreckage is found, we have a question coming in about whether we might be able to use what we see to possibly verify the cause of the explosion that was reported.
We hope so. So one of the things about this particular crash was that in the crash report, it was talking about what areas of the aircraft wreckage that they found, what areas they came from, and whether or not they were burned. So we know that there was an explosion on board at the surface level, and when we find the wreck, we'll be able to see, hopefully we'll be able to see those areas and either notice a higher, much accelerated rate of deterioration based on the fact that it's down underwater after it's been burned. So if the materials are compromised, they're going to deteriorate far faster than if they were not. If we can, it's difficult because if we can identify exactly the pieces that we're looking at, which is not always the case, we can hopefully trace, that cause of the initial explosion. But I don't think it's something that can happen on screen. It's going to take hours of looking back through the video and trying to parts identification and see what we can see, basically.
I've heard us talk, or I've heard mention that how much fuel it was carrying. Was that actually just gasoline then?
Avgas.
The predecessor to jet propellant number 4, I'm guessing.
Definitely a predecessor to anything jet related.
Yes.
Would they have had enough time to potentially, we know they were trying to dump fuel, to dump a lot of that?
I think so, because as far as I am aware, and hopefully if I'm wrong they correct me when the second watch comes up, but when they first noticed the oil leak in the engine, they were at least an hour out. And so on the way back, half hour out. So on the way back, they would have been trying to get back and then dumping fuel all the way from Apia, I think.
They were really full of fuel though, right? Because they're going to do that whole leg to New Zealand.
That's the thing, is that they had not only the wing fuel tanks absolutely full, but they had these 6 225-gallon tanks on the inside of the hull, so on the interior, and it was located directly behind the navigator compartment. So they were carrying a lot of fuel.
We don't have any cockpit verification of that, but when they did the calculation, they said they had already dumped enough fuel to land, but the landing area was so tricky. The harbor is boot shape, and in the foot of the boot is where the seaport landing area was, and it was only 2 miles by 1/4 mile wide. So even although they had dumped enough fuel for an ordinary landing, they hadn't dumped enough to come over that 800-foot ridge and take a steep dive. The pilots described it as trying to land in a well.
Ooh.
And
Ooh,
it was
zooming.
white. They
Okay.
were holding their breaths each time they did that. It was an extraordinary kind of descent.
So there's a Sikorsky 42B
Coming
Bravo
out.
S42B.
S42. So is that model was that one equipped for extra fuel tanks, or was that just all of the custom?
That's exactly what it was. So the S42B was a long range, and the S42A had more passenger compartment spaces and more, I think that the navigator space was a little bit bigger, or it had a separate room aft where the tanks would be.
Sikorsky made 10 S-42s, and the last 3 were Bs, and it had a modified hull, a 2-step hull, and they increased the wing length from 114 feet 2 inches to 118 feet 2 inches, and also modified the fairings for drag.
Awesome.
That's amazing how much drag reduce happens when you put the fairings on. They make a lot of a difference on wheels.
And the Bs weren't licensed for passengers, only cargo.
In the passenger configuration, how many passengers do they carry?
32 to 36.
It's a nice size aircraft. What was that Twin Otter we came over on? That was 20, right?
It was all of us, and
Yeah.
yeah,
There's 5 rows of?
18 maybe.
All of us and Russ's knees. Yeah, that was 20, I think. 19 or 20, something like that. 17 of us.
And then there's the one odd seat in the back.
We had one local with us. I'm sure that she loved our commentary.
Oh yeah, she's got stories.
Is that what you hopped over on, Twin Otter?
Yeah.
Nice.
That's cool.
A little nerve-wracking, but beautiful plane ride.
Well, Russ, of course, was really excited,
Yes.
fair enough, and decided to describe to us the path of the doomed aircraft, that we were taking the exact same path. And we were all like, well, couldn't hear about this later.
Yeah, I'm glad I heard about that after we landed.
I had my 25 dB earplugs in, so I missed that.
Did they arc in over the hill then? They dropped in?
No, we came around.
Coming into Pago Pago?
Yeah.
They come in the long way? Or
Yeah,
they
we came in the
Yeah,
long
we went
way.
along the coast, around the coast, and then
There's a
I don't
little
know what runway
airstrip.
we landed on.
Lana, you might be able to
Oh,
answer
you
this.
landed on... Yeah, never mind. Sorry.
Okay. Has the Air and Sea Heritage Foundation kind of been in contact with the family members of the crew members?
No, not yet. Been in contact with Sikorsky and Pan Am, but not with the family members. We've done a bit of research on the web, and family members, some of the family members have posted videos or short texts about their grandparents or whatever, but we didn't think it was right to reach out to any family members prior to what we find here.
But he was in contact with Ed Tripp, who is the
Son of
Juan Tripp, the main owner. Is it
who
owner of
founded
Pan Am?
Pan Am.
There we go.
Pan Am has actually reserved huge IMAX theater in New York, Cradle of Aviation Theater, and we'll have a live connect with us this week.
Cool.
Outstanding.
On that Twin Otter takeoff, most exciting part for me was he did a short field takeoff, so he put the brakes down all the way and revved the engine up full power and then let go.
Yeah, that was pretty
so
hardcore.
you could just feel the engine power coming up and shuddering against the brakes, and then when he let go, he just roared down the runway.
Yeah, we got going in a hurry.
Yeah.
It was reassuring to have.
Twin Otters are great at those S-tall. They're just, bam, we're out of here.
Yeah. It was really reassuring to have like 5 pilots on board in total. There's Lonnie, Summer, and was it Russ?
Russ.
Yeah.
You ever seen the competition they had? I
The
wish
Cubs?
our other SCF was here.
The Piper Cubs?
Yeah.
Oh, dude.
That's in like Juneau or Sitka or Ketchikan somewhere,
These
and
Bush pilots,
they try and
crazy.
see who can land in the shortest amount of distance, and they end up
Oh.
Like take off and land, and it's like
15 feet 9
this
inches.
is so impressive.
Isn't there that there's a video around of there's like a the Piper Cub with the big wheels and
Yeah,
it's
the
landing on
massive
this
Yeah.
patch of
Yep.
island that's
Yeah.
about
Yeah.
It's
Yeah.
like
4 feet long and that's it.
there's some pretty cool like shows or documentaries or whatever of like the 10 or 15 like sketchiest airports to land in, and like there's a few in like some of the islands, I think, like where the winds are just insane, and then you see like the 747s come in like sideways, and then all of a sudden they like come around.
There's a
last minute.
field in England like that.
Yeah, and then there's
where
like
is
one
it?
that you land, and it's like you land like upslope, and it's like you
Right.
had to have done like 3 takeoffs and landings in the last whatever days with an experienced pilot to even like be able to land there. Some impressive pilotage out there.
August in Norway is like that too. Coming 737.
Yeah,
One
just
of the
like
cliffs
coming in like freaking sideways, and then like,
And
yeah.
you get a really good view.
The
Awesome.
landing gear on, well, this is right there. The B-52s is steerable. So they can actually aim the wheels. And then
Sideways?
Yeah.
That's cool.
For crosswind landing.
Every time I'm at LAX, although I thought it's somewhere else when I saw them too, those A380s are always something to see.
Yeah, these are pretty cool. So I was just in Portland, or Newport, sorry, driving to Portland a couple days ago, but before coming here, and I stopped at the Aviation and Space Museum over there.
That's where the Spruce Goose
Spruce Goose is there,
Yeah.
and the SR-40.
Huh.
No.
No?
One of those stealth.
SR-71.
Yeah, yeah.
SR-71.
Yes,
The black-
SR-71.
There's
yeah,
a blackbird there.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It was
Right.
it was so cool. If you guys ever in the area, check it out. You could spend
The,
like days there just looking at all this stuff.
There's a GB there too, isn't it?
A what?
A GB. The
I don't know if that's-
big engine, real short, stubby.
Yeah, maybe. We went there like 4:30 and they closed at 5. They let us in for free, so we were just like running around like, oh my gosh, could be here for days. But it's an impressive place.
I think that Blackbird that's at the museum in DC broke like 9 records in its final flight across country.
At Udvarhazy?
Yeah.
Yeah.
I wouldn't doubt it. It's so cool.
Summer,
Yes.
on the off chance that we drive directly over wreckage and see it in the HD cam, and on the off chance that there's any net entanglement, fishing entanglement, we'll want to be kind of on it right away to winch up as fast as we can to get out of the way,
That is a valid
not
concern.
knowing how
Yeah.
high up it is.
Yeah, unfortunately,
it-
as soon as we see something, we're coming up.
Yeah, the temptation would be to look at it,
Yeah.
but we'll want to just make sure that we're clear of if there is any netting.
Yeah, I'll be staying a little more conservative than last time too, like
Yeah.
15 meters up, so. Good point, Rennie.
It could be overly conservative, but it'd be a good idea to at least have eyes
Yeah.
it in our heads.
How likely is it to find derelict fishing gear on old aviation wrecks?
On
Very
Super
likely.
likely.
shipwrecks
Oh,
and everything. It's
These
always
don't look like they would be prime fishing grounds.
right.
You never
Yeah.
know.
There's been so many.
Yeah, we find, I mean, we find nets on everything, though. I've seen nets on a bunch of aircraft.
yeah.
Wow.
And that's not stuff that shows up in the sonar, so it's like
Right.
Oh,
not easy to
And
spot.
it can be floaty, and then
right.
you don't want to get tangled with it.
Yeah.
You can imagine that would be not good.
We're still about 45 minutes out from that center of that search area.
The ship is just now passing near the spot, and so we should have not too long to go. Let me see, 600. I don't know. 20 minutes. And Argus is trending north, and that target is a bit north of our current line, so we should be going directly over the target.
Awesome.
Yeah, Rennie and I were wondering, did they have Loran C back then? Like for
In
navigation?
38. I don't think they did, but maybe they did.
No, I don't think they did.
I think
Yeah.
that was that a World War II or post-World War II thing? I think it was right at the end of World War II was when I remember hearing about it.
Yeah. That seems about right.
It's amazing how much technology gets developed when we're at war.
Yes.
Right.
Ed Music said that these pilots that did these transoceanic flights needed as much navigation knowledge as Cunard captains. So he hired Fred Noonan, who, you know, Fred Noonan's fate. Anyway, he hired Fred Noonan, who'd been the Navy's best navigator,
Zooming.
to come in and teach all these clipper pilots navigation with sextants and so forth.
Yeah.
I want to take a target.
Are you interested in that target
Just-
there?
Why not?
Yeah, okay,
Yeah.
good. We're all looking at the same thing. And that's what?
That is 40 to
40
port.
to port. Roger.
Full wide.
Thanks,
And,
Rennie. I was thinking, I don't, yay, nay, I don't know.
Are you still zoomed in?
Great
No, I
minds
said
think
full
alike.
wide.
And that is 09, is that correct?
Easy to if you see
Yes,
that
that's correct.
vignette in the
Roger.
bottom left corner.
Okay.
It's hard to tell. There's a bit of streaking.
Yeah.
So you
The-
can't tell something that looks elongated can kind of, or looks square might just be another rock, but there's a bit of shadow there, so it could be something.
So we have a
It looked weird,
Yeah.
basically.
That was a,
Yeah.
so you can tell the height of something based on the shadow with
Yeah.
like a
you-
measuring tool,
you-
or can you actually like
you
gauge it,
could
I guess?
Well, yeah, you know how far off the bottom you are, and you know what the angle of the, yeah. If you know the angle of the side scan and
Yeah.
how far up you are
Math.
and how far away it is,
Right.
then you can see how far of a shadow it's casting, but math.
Did the Samoan Clippers crash, or maybe change any rules in aviation, or kind of how Pan Am conducted their business or long-range flights?
Well, there were no more clippers, so they perfected that for a new model, but they said it didn't, they expected that it might put fear into people's hearts about flying and so forth, but apparently it didn't, so.
When
Did-
you say no more clippers, didn't how much longer was it before the Martin M130 came out.
I mean, no more clippers of the S42,
Of the S42
S42 type, right?
Yeah. But there were other clippers. There were four types of clippers that Pan Am used.
Correct.
Yeah.
Did I hear you say that of this type they all crashed, or was I mistaken there?
They were all either destroyed by crashing or were scrapped.
Wow. Okay.
So
Or were
none
what?
Or
exist
disappeared,
Oh.
right?
now. Or well, did they disappear?
One actually was found in Florida, and someone bought it and turned it into a houseboat.
Huh.
Oh.
Hmm.
But then we don't
pretty-
know what happened
No,
to
it's
it.
Pretty cool, actually.
No.
Yeah, there's no information. It was like a magazine shoot, and then all other information about it disappeared. So we don't know what happened to that houseboat.
And Lonnie, that flight route got closed down too, right?
That flight route, yes, that flight route closed down.
I have a question coming in about if anybody knows why they were called clippers.
After the old sailing ships that were so fast, because these were flying boats, and they were modeling them on the name on the old clipper ship.
The clipper ships that used to carry tea and other type goods across back and forth from Europe to the Americas to China to all kinds of different places. And they were well known because of their speed.
Well, Heather, that was a great question.
Well done, Heather. Good morning, Heather. Heather's on East Coast time, so it's not that bad there.
8:45.
Yeah,
Ooh. Early riser. Ish.
she's dedicated.
A family that sciences together stays together.
That's right. We have a family WhatsApp chat
Uh-huh.
that we all send pictures to. And I sent a picture when we were coming out here. We stayed a night in the Sheraton, and I sent a picture with my feet kind of up and the sort of coconut umbrella covering me with the ocean. And then so my dad sent a picture back with his feet up on like the door that he was refinishing. And my brother sent a picture with his feet up next to his computer monitors. And Heather sent one with it next to her cats and everything. We were like, oh yeah, we're all just doing the same thing.
I think you won that picture contest.
At that time.
I don't know, I feel like the cats might have won.
Are you a cat person?
I like cats, I'm allergic to them though.
Oh.
Actually, funnily enough, right before this trip, I was like looking at hypoallergenic cats.
Maine Coons?
Maine Coons. It
yeah,
was
Maine
the,
Coons.
oh, I'm forgetting.
Norwegian forest cat.
There are a couple
Yeah.
cats.
Yeah, who don't do allergies.
Oh. Got bumped a little there.
Still about 10 minutes till Argus is over that target.